So I figured I'll start reading. Okay, I just got home from work and I have to go to bed really soon because I have to get up really early. I have so much to do. It's not even, you can probably hear the cat. I had to put him in the other room because he's been acting obsessed with me since I got home, and he was knocking everything off the table and he was batting my phone. So he's yelling. He's okay. Okay, so we're going to start with Camilla, her true story. And I said before in my live, I know this is going to be very, very polarizing. How we're gonna do it. Tits McGee. Promise I have a shirt on. It's just the angle. Okay. So, it's just, you know, how this is an old book. It's from 2001. I thought this was earlier. I mean, not earlier, more recent. Married. I thought it was recently, but I don't know. The older you get, like everything just blurs into one. Hello. All right, so I'm going to start with the foreword. We're just going to work our way through. I'm not sure if I will get to, oh, are there some words in here that I'm not going to be able to pronounce? No doubt. It happens every time. Okay. Okay, let's read the foreword because it has like some, it has some curious questions in it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to read one to you now. Because I'm like, what? Is Victoria Beckham really the nearest we've got to a new Diana? Never in my days have I ever heard of Victoria Beckham being compared to Princess Diana. And like I said, I'm not a Princess Diana fan. But I mean, I think she carried herself better than Victoria Beckham does. Whoa, wait. I think that she carried herself better. I think Diana was crazy. Anyway, I've already told the story a million times, but when we were reading, oh, it's all covered up. I've literally got a stack of books here. When we were reading The Royals by Kitty Kelly, and Kitty Kelly talks about when, in the mid-90s, when Diana became obsessed with this art dealer and he had this horrible last name. His last name was Whore. I just feel, imagine on the playground as a child in elementary school, your last name Whore. Oh my God. In high school, oh Jesus, help us. Anyway, so she was obsessed with him. So she was obsessed with him and she would call his home. And when he or his wife would answer, she would just sit on the phone in silence, just breathing. She would call him multiple times a day. Finally, they had the police tracking the calls and they were coming from like Diana's private line. And then she would like toddle on off over to Charles's office because Charles was no longer in residence. She was at Kensington Palace, I think, and Charles was no longer living there. So she would go into Charles's old office and dial from there. And then she would like go somewhere else, another office, and she would dial from there. She would like within minutes, she would make this, you know, crazy town. And then a couple times his wife answered and she just starts like screaming abuse. Crazy. All right. So. All right. So the foreword, who's it written by? I'd like to know, so I have some context before I finish it. Okay. Stuart Higgins, former editor of The Sun. All right. The sunny month of June will go down in history as the month Camilla Parker Bowles came out. A month of official public appearances mingling with celebrities and personalities, and of course, the all-important nanosecond first kiss from Prince Charles. It was almost like the buildup of a PR campaign for Jerry Halliwell's new single, Without the Yoga. I'm trying to remember Jerry Halliwell's single in 2001. We're reading her true story because we just read The Royals and Yeah, it's about Camilla, the very opposite of Princess Diana. Okay. Camilla had invited him as her guest at the 15th anniversary of the National Osteoporosis Society, of which she is patron. The crown and glory kiss was duly captured by the television cameras and the well-chosen band of photographers who had been vetted and invited by the operating theater at St. James's Palace. This is the Prince Charles War Room, where the loyal spin doctors work their modern miracles. Sometimes one feels that their surgery could bring back the dead. If one was not quite so entranced, bewildered, or downright furious at these events, if you follow the emails of GMTV's outraged pro-Diana fans, you would be tempted to think the Camilla Charles romance was the sweet and soppy first throes of love between a middle-aged couple, and not the sad remnants of one of the greatest love tragedies of modern times. Diana, you'll remember, said her marriage was crowded. There were 3 of us, she told the world in her earthquake panorama interview with Martin Bashir. Now there are only 2, and she is the one missing. The headline-grabbing appearances of Charles and his longtime companion, 29 years together, and this was the first public kiss, poignantly took place in the run-up to what would have been Diana's 40th birthday, 1st July 2001, almost 4 years to the day after her death in the car crash in a Paris underpass. There are those who are undisguised in both their enthusiasm and their determination to airbrush the princess from history. Fortunately, they fight a losing battle against the continued global admiration and fascination for the Princess of Wales. She appeared on the cover of America's famous People magazine 81 times, and her fund is still pulling in over £3 million a year, which is being distributed to charities all over the world. To this day, Prince Charles has not visited his wife's grave on the flower-laden oval island at Althorpe House, her family home, now managed by her brother Earl Spencer. She was laid to rest in an unmarked grave in September 1997. His decision, while surprising and even shocking many, is hardly scandalous given the chasm in their relationship, and given that the Prince of Wales is a man driven by duty and destiny, rather than the distraction of public emotion. Now we see Charles and his Camilla awkwardly placed alongside the likes of Sophie Dahl, Donatella Versace, Patty Kinsett, Naomi Campbell, Claudia Schiffer, Stella McCartney, Kylie Minogue, and Ruby Wax, all of whom were amongst the guests at a gala at here we go. Anyway, we're going to skip that, Manor, Buckinghamshire, which undoubtedly raised hundreds of thousands of pounds for charities, including Macmillan Nurses. At Highgrove 10 days later, good Lord, I need to go to bed, Shirley Bassey, oh my God, she is divine. I love her. Goldfinger. Okay, anyway, if you don't know who she is, you just need to go and look up the Goldfinger theme song. And she does this thing, like you have to watch her perform it. And she does this thing and she like kisses her own shoulder when she's performing. Oh my God, she is an icon. Okay, moving on. And Joan Rivers provided the unlikely cabaret, along with Twiggy, George Hamilton, a brace of EastEnders stars, and 150,000 pounds worth of Laurent Perrier champagne. I'm sorry, every time that I think of champagne, I always think of The Great Muppet Caper, when Fozzie Bear is sitting in the supper club and he has a glass of champagne and he's scooping sugar into it. And he's like, if you put enough sugar in this stuff, it tastes just like ginger ale. Okay. The latest names to star at the osteoporosis knees up included Barbara Windsor. I thought I was going to say Barbara Walters. Barbara Windsor, Full Monty star Hugo Spear, and Selena Scott. Camilla has always privately pledged that her public appearances will be meaningful. Okay, I can't keep on doing, they're using so many, finger bunnies, quotations. I can't keep on, I'll try to like make it obvious, meaningful, in that they directly highlight or benefit a charity close to her heart. Osteoporosis killed her mother and her grandmother, and Camilla has fought her own battle against smoking, a contributory factor, as well as undergoing special brittle bone tests herself, which she has always passed. Indeed, it will only be a matter of time before Camilla agrees to do a controlled interview and photographs at St. James's Palace venue in return for a hefty donation to the charity. The interview will focus on her work, the secret visits to hospitals to talk to patients, the letters of thanks and encouragement to her supporters, and the charity lunches at her Wiltshire home. But there will also be a few agreed quotes about her relationship with Prince Charles, which will reverberate around the world. You know, all I can think of is ginger ale now. Sometimes the ginger ale is so good, I'm telling you. It just burns all the way down. It is crisp. Okay. It is always difficult to remember that this is a woman who has been seen for 30 years and never heard, apart from the secretly recorded and sometimes sordid exchanges in the Camilla Gate scandal. She is close to being... whatever. Close to being heard? I don't know. That's the whole sentence left me. Her voice has all the plumminess of a country lady, but tempered with the earthiness of a woman who has lived life. Sometimes descriptions are so wild to me, like all the plumminess, but also her voice sounds like a woman who's lived life. Like, how does that sound? What does that mean? Is confident in her own circle and has an enormous capacity to laugh at a dirty joke. I'm just like, they're like, she's so earthy. Like when I think of earthy, the first person I think of is Lauren Bacall. I just think of like that deep voice and I don't know. I'm overtired, guys. Like, bear with me. My own dealings with Camilla date back to my days as a young reporter in the West Country for a freelance agency and later for The Sun. Each year, the horsey calendar demanded close scrutiny as the prince, then unmarried, dragged along the latest potential bride to various equestrian events around Gloucestershire and Wiltshire. Camilla, who went on to marry Andrew Parker Bowles, while Charles went to sea with the Royal Navy, was never further than a water jump away. She was politely described as a confidant of the prince, a woman he turned to for advice on possible conquests, the suitability or otherwise of the stunning blonde, and was even consulted finally to vet a possible bride. The term confidant is unlikely to ever bear such an innocent meaning again. It is now established that she has been his off and on mistress since the days before his marriage in 1980 and later rekindled by the mid-80s. Camilla has been a soul of discretion, careful never to give away any clues as to the true strength of their relationship, and always very curious as to what I believed was going on. At this stage, I believe the friendship to be one of trust rather than a secret love affair. Her friendliness and apparent openness may have deceived a young, enthusiastic, and slightly green reporter. Through this telephone relationship, probably best called Higgygate, given the later Squidgygate and Camillagate scandals, she guided me as to what may be right or wrong with a clear bias in favor of the man she loved, Prince Charles. I am convinced that our conversations were consistently relayed to St. James's Palace, so both the prince and his most loyal courtiers could monitor the media's knowledge of the relationship. On key issues, she was adamant. No, she was never the mystery woman on the royal train in a Wiltshire siding. No, she would never divorce her husband, Andrew Parker Bowles. This was echoed by Mr. Parker Bowles himself, which led to at least one inaccurate page 1 splash in The Sun saying, "We will never divorce." Hi, Debbie. No, you have not missed too much at all. We're literally just reading the foreword. It's from, who is it from? It's a really long one. Stuart Higgins, former editor of The Sun. We are reading Camilla, her true story. It's old, relatively speaking. It's from 2001, but it is juicy. Okay? So yeah. So he's just giving us, he, I guess, spent a lot of time talking to her and discussing her relationship with Charles over the years. And so he's just kind of giving his little 2 cents at the beginning. Okay. Which led to at least one inaccurate page one splash in The Sun saying, "We will never divorce." In truth, the devastation caused by the Andrew Morton book, Diana, Her True Story, the explicit but still mysterious telephone recordings of Diana and James Gilby, and Charles and Camilla blew a hole so big in both relationships that they were dead in the water. My firm belief is that without those catastrophic revelations, both marriages could have limped on in the way many aristocratic marriages do. Camilla and Charles's circle of friends, Lord and Lady Romsey, the Van Cutsums, Nicholas Soames, all kept a united front. They did believe that Diana was unstable and clinically mad. I think she was too. After Morton's bombshell, they happily but discreetly briefed against Diana and related various stories about suicide attempts, including one on an aircraft in which blood had to be wiped away before landing. Camilla, for her part, knew that Diana had cooperated with the book from early on. Morton himself had told me that I should treat the page after page revelations of the manuscript as if it had been personally signed by the princess. We got to read that one too. In fact, it turned out to be more official than that. It was all taped and handed over to a grateful Morton, who interspersed her account of the dark days of her marriage and her misery in the royal family with a few linking sentences. Unfortunately, there is not a secret goldmine of correspondence from Camilla hidden away in a safe, awaiting my twilight days as a pensioner. There are only 2 pieces of writing from her. One was a short note of thanks after the Sun sent her a birthday cake, which she said would never allow her to forget her age. At the time, I was bedridden with chickenpox. She took the trouble to wish me a speedy recovery and added reassuringly, "My father nearly died of that when he was about your age." It is a brief anecdote, but in my view, demonstrates her sense of humor, a mixture of sarcasm and down-to-earth bluntness. My own view has always been that Charles and Camilla could never marry, regardless of the constitutional issues. The public would simply not stand for it. The fact remains that Camilla never aspires to be queen. I just love it when a book is like, wrong. But, from what they knew at the time. The fact remains that Camilla never aspires to be queen. Queen Camilla sounds like some kind of cartoon strip. She is now in her early 50s and is settled in her ways. I just love it when a man is like, "Oh, yes, let me tell you that this woman in her 50s, why would she want to marry? She doesn't want to be queen. She's settled in her ways." Like, "Oh, yes, because your heart stops beating when you're 50. Okay." She enjoys life in the countryside. She paints, she sunbathes in a bikini in the privacy of her garden. Royal valet Michael Fawcett now runs her errands, and more often than not, she is chauffeured around in a royal car. She invites her pals around to lunch, and she attends her charity events dutifully and attentively. My confidence in there never being a marriage was only backed up by a 300-pound bet with a man called Roger Wood, a seasoned and hard-bitten sub-editor of The Sun, not given to romantic contemplation, but blessed with a man-in-the-street pulse, which seldom lets him down. The other issue is the feelings of the children, Prince William, 19, and now at university, and Harry, 16, still at Eton. They have both met Camilla, a massive step forward, as anyone in a similar position will testify, and like her. She, for her part, would never dream of interfering in matters concerning the boys, but if she can be supportive or helpful, she would happily wade in. Camilla has also met the Queen, who, while never wishing to appear to approve publicly of her son and heir's relationship, she now understands it and is tolerant rather than critical. The Queen Mother is neither. Camilla and Charles's overriding ambition and short-term aim after the death of Diana was merely to breathe the same air. They have dramatically overstepped that goal by sharing the same bed at St. James's Palace an average of twice a week. Staying at Highgrove together, openly spending time together at Holyrood House, and even at Buckingham Palace, barely thinkable even a year ago. They enjoy theater outings together and are now confident enough to share holidays together in places they both adore, like Italy, without worrying too much about scrutiny from the cameras. They are now stepping out as a public item, with a growing band of support from friends, relatives, and key areas of the media. Their togetherness at this level is accepted. It is also significant that during the same period, the royal family's popularity and relevance has slipped away, especially amongst younger people. So you can almost replace the earlier chorus of disapproval with apathy because people just do not care as much as they once did. Whatever the status of their relationship, Charles and Camilla will not be walking down opposite sides of the street, shaking hands and cuddling babies in the way Diana so famously did. Oh, yes. Well, he is wrong. On one of their earliest, oh, no, I see what he's saying. I see that they were like separated. They're like, he's meaning that they're going to walk together, because they love each other. On one of their earliest official engagements. It was only then that the prince began to realize he had married a superstar as the disappointed crowd shook his hand but looked over his shoulder and chanted, "We want Diana." Jeez. One recent poll in April 2001 showed that 64% of people thought Charles should still be king even if he did marry Camilla, but 67% did not want her to be queen at his side. The year before, the feelings against were stronger, with 78% against Camilla being queen. So there is evidence that attitudes are softening, or people simply do not care quite so much. In general terms, without the benefit of any scientific poll whatsoever, general opinion seems to be, let them get on with it, but don't flaunt it. It is also worth remembering that Diana had a view on the relationship. While being heartbroken that her fairy tale marriage turned into a nightmare in such a short time, her anger and sense of betrayal subsided as years wore on, and in truth, she sought solace herself with other men like James Hewitt and Will Carling. During my only one-to-one lunch with the princess at St. James's Palace, she treated me with kid gloves. She knew that I had been friendly with Camilla. She knew that I had been the happy recipient of stories as editor of The Sun from her husband's camp during the so-called War of the Waleses. And yet her streetwise cunning also told her that The Sun was a valuable source of support because its readers were her most avid fans. When she appeared on page 1, circulation would invariably show an increase. She was a crowd puller in every way. Hi! I know, I've just been working like a dog. Like, that's all I do. I usually get home around midnight, and then I, have to get up again, and oh my God, it's been wild. But, I keep saying eventually things will settle down. We'll find out. During this lunch, in the presence of her then press advisor, Jane Atkinson, she confessed she felt sorry for her love rival. I took her remark to be a serious observation rather than a clever way to get me on side. She elaborated only slightly to say that she was convinced that Camilla would end up as lonely and as sad as she had done herself. It was an astute and, given the circumstances, poignant moment. It was delivered in typical Diana style, with that distinctive tilt of the head and upward look of the eyes. That drives me bonkers. I hate that whole, that's so demure. So shy. Okay. She clearly feared that her husband would never know any real happiness in his life, and this concerned her. I believe she would have given the marriage another chance, but she had burned her boats with her total cooperation with Morton's book. The sense of betrayal felt by Prince Charles and his aides was unbridgeable from that moment onwards, and the marriage never stood a chance. That was never Diana's aim in encouraging publication of the book. Her cooperation was a wake-up call to her husband and to the royal family, albeit a dramatic and fatal one. One senior aide to the princess told me, "I do genuinely believe that Diana felt sorry for Camilla in that she thought she could end up with the same sort of loneliness that had haunted her and made her own life a misery at the palace. There is no doubt she was bitter about this betrayal. Her concept of the life which stretched ahead of her was complete fantasy, and she could not put it into context with her own life or background at all. Her life was much the same as any other 18 or 19-year-old girl. She had the same dreams, aspirations, and expectations as any other girl. True love and romance, marriage and happiness and children, and then way down the list came the royal family, duty, public engagements, media scrutiny, and so on. The difference is that Camilla is a very worldly woman. She is intelligent, comfortable in company of all backgrounds, and confident enough to make people feel relaxed with her. I personally do not believe the Prince of Wales will marry Camilla Parker Bowles. Why should he? Life has changed an awful lot, even over the last 5 to 10 years, in that there is no great scandal attached to being unmarried. They clearly love each other, but no one would like to see Camilla as queen. Probably, as important as that is, she herself would not be interested. She would hate it. Camilla does not crave the limelight or the banquets. Her life is in order. She likes that. Why is everyone... Oh, this drives me crazy. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you're recovering well and that you're getting lots of rest and that you're taking care of yourself and you're eating good food and staying hydrated. Um, I'm really hoping that I will start to read more. It's been crazy. Okay. Yeah, everyone's saying, yeah, Camilla doesn't want to be queen. Camilla's not going to marry Charles. There's no way. Well, I'm glad that she did now, because it's like, yeah, you show him. You do you, girl. All right, she's happy to be the prince's public companion for various events, but she does not want high-profile exposure. She enjoys tending her gardens in Wiltshire and her coffee mornings with her friends. Diana did not talk about Camilla incessantly, but her shadow was there all the time. She knew her husband confided in her, and she believed that he still loved Camilla. She understood that they were on the same wavelength because of their shared interests, the mutual friends, and their similar ages, but she believed he would change, and their love for each other would grow over time. Sadly, it did not. I think Diana's death killed off an awful lot of interest in the royal family, so even the polls that increasingly show less resistance to Charles and Camilla are not really impressive. I think they show a general apathy towards the issue rather than a growing feeling of sympathy for them. Diana's 40th birthday passed with the predictable newspaper and magazine features. What would she be like now? Would she have married Dodi Fayed? No. She was in love with the doctor from Pakistan. That's so sad. How has she left her mark on the world? Were they engaged to be married? Did MI6 play a conspiratorial part in her death? Why did Britain and the world mourn her loss in such a massive way? Is Victoria Beckham really the nearest we've got to a new Diana? That's absurd. That is so absurd. I can't even. Lord. They are all questions we can answer for ourselves, as well as the influence Diana had on each of our lives or how she touched someone else's life. Our own memories are private and for the most part should stay that way. One fact remains: the more we see of Camilla, the more we remember Diana. However unpalatable, distasteful, or contrived the Charles and Camilla Romeo and Juliet roadshow is, it is with us to stay and may even gain momentum. The palace spinners can only spin so far. We no longer need to see them together. We know and understand that they enjoy each other's company. They share the same interests, and between them, they can do an awful lot of good for charity. If they truly love each other, let them be together and get married and enjoy each other's company in the way millions of other people who have been bereaved or divorced have done. It is surely churlish to deprive a couple in their in their mid 50s. I don't know. That just sounds crazy. In their advancing years, like, yeah, they're on death's door. Of a traditional union of marriage. On the day of Charles and Diana's wedding, my colleagues and I celebrated late into the evening on a balcony in London's Waldorf Hotel, blowing plastic whistles and waving bunting to the happy hordes below. That was 21 years ago. That's okay. You can say hi. I'm always pushing wrong buttons. Like, I'm always terrified I'm going to do something really bad or something. Charles and Camilla is as riveting a love story as Charles and Diana, but we are not going to fall for it. Okay. But you can be sure we will all buy the newspapers and watch television for a day, and that will be because we remember Diana. All right. That's enough. I don't know if like the book itself is going to be so like anti Camilla and so pro Diana, but that foreword was certainly like the only reason that we will watch what Camilla's doing is because we remember Diana. I mean, I love to see a girl get her man. I mean, I hate cheating. I hate it. And you all who like watch me all the time, you know I hate it with a passion. It really bothers me. But I mean, I also like to see, lovers who are kept apart reunited. I don't like all the cheating stuff though. And I do think, oh, I don't have to tell you what I think, I've said it a million times. All right, so I do have my laptop back, but I just didn't have it in me to like open it up and record and then save it and then upload it. Ugh. So sometimes it's just easier to go live because it's just like, it's just done, Okay, we've been 30 minutes. That's pretty darn good. I have to get to bed. I have to get up really early. I have to clean my house. Say a prayer for my man because he's like having him in TB. He's just having a really hard time because the PR stuff is so stressful. It's so hard. And he tried to break up with me the other day because he was so just not himself. And I said, no, I don't accept. Which is like kind of a crazy thing to do. But I was like, no, I'm sorry. You can't break up with me when you're not in your right mind. Like, you can't break up with me when you're depressed because you're not thinking straight. You have to wait until you feel good. And then when you're feeling good, and you decide, you know what, I'm really done, then you can break up with me. But you're not going to be sad and stressed and worried. And, sometimes it's just an act of control. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, everything is outside of my control. What can I control? My relationship? Perfect. Let's end it. Anyway, we'll see what happens. If I come on here, I'll come on live sobbing and then you'll know. He left me. Anyway. All right. Anyway, pray for me because I don't want to have a breakup this weekend. Are you kidding me? As if I want that. I mean, it's never a good time, but it's really not a good time because I don't even have the capacity. I can hardly form a sentence. Okay. Thank you for joining me for the first little bit of Camilla. Sorry for oversharing. And I will be back with you soon. Yeah, thank you. I hope I also don't have a breakup. Send good energy to that man because he's in shambles. So I'll be back soon. Not sure when. If I'm lucky, maybe I'll be on tomorrow night because I get off at 6:30 in the evening and my man doesn't come over till about 10:30 because he works till late. And so maybe I'll get a chance to pop on and read some more. Okay. Bless you all. I miss you guys so much. Oh, when I miss when I was reading every single day, sometimes twice a day. Oh my gosh, those were the days, weren't they? I don't know. Maybe once I'm acclimatized and I need less sleep, then I can do it again. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye. Boop.